everyone, welcome to this class. So we're going to paint this cute little bird, puffy bird, which is what I like about this type of a bird. It just looks puffy. It's a little wet actually because it's snowy out there, and despite of like seeing all these colors, this is actually a pretty simple color palette. If you think about it, I have yellow, red, and blue, and then that's technically blue, and then Van Dyke brown could be next to my red. So technically it's yellow, blue, red, so primary colors. So what's next? You want to have your colors pre-diluted with water to consistency like between heavy cream, and this is almost like cream top too because I've been talking now for a few minutes, so everything kind of dried. But I have indigo, I have phthalo blue, cobalt blue. Ignore that, this is pearl red from a different painting. I just don't want to waste the paint. Iso yellow, imidazzle yellow, Van Dyke brown, burnt sienna, quin red, yellow, raw sienna, yellow ochre. That's it. I'm gonna place these colors here. Yeah, I have a lot of water. It's okay to drop water because the first part is just wetting the paper, and you really want this paper to be wet. The longer you wet the paper, the more time you have to apply colors wet on wet. So I'm almost there. I'm looking at the timer here. I've been on my camera and it seems like I've been waiting for a few minutes now. I am going to grab, let's see, my long quill size 4 brush. So it's my own line. This is a songbird. What I'm going to do is, I do want some water on this brush. First of all, this dried a bit, so I'm going to grab a little more water. This is my imidazzle yellow. This is my Iso yellow, and I want some of the quin red, but I also want some of the raw sienna yellow ochre. So as you see, I quickly grab these these colors, and very slightly blend them, but not much, because I want to see the separation of colors. If I want more of this kind of blend that I start playing with, then it's more like the imidazzle yellow and so on. So when you apply colors, you don't want to just cover the whole thing and call it done. You always want to choose the areas where you're applying colors, right? And any color that bleeds towards the outside of the bird, that's when you're going to see that softness. So you do want actually colors to bleed over these sketch lines. Now, what do I do here? So there's a glow. I could create a little glow over the wing. I'm looking at 2 different references. So I'm just kind of, I want to create like a different version of the bird in a way, and it's just 2 references that I liked. I'm going to refer mostly to one, but I want some yellow undertone. Yellow undertone, the colors are bleeding towards the background, and I'm going to have a little bit of that yellow over here too. So what's the next step? I want to grab some of this quin red, and there's my cobalt blue, and that dried a little bit. And I could, since I have this phthalo blue, I'm going to grab that too. I'm going to look for some bluish undertones areas where I can add it. So maybe over here a little bit. So some areas. Now I need to wipe my brush on a towel because at this point actually, since I already have colors, the yellow undertones, I have too much water, and then I'm just going to push the yellow away. So I need to start grabbing more like a heavy cream-like ratio. So this is actually, I'm going to show you, this is my indigo here, phthalo blue, cobalt blue, and some of the quick grab of that quin red. Now, this is heavy cream, but also like I don't have as much on my brush. So the yellows, most of the yellows with some of that red, and go through some of these areas, a little more color around the face, and right here too, and then back over here. This is where I started, but the paper just dried already for me, so I'm just gonna work with what I have over here and just pull the paint slightly. So it's still soft. Everything is soft. And I'm almost there to start lifting the colors. There you go. Something like that. So I'd like to do the same thing with the darks. So cobalt blue, quin red. Now this is heavy cream or cream top-like ratio between water and paint, because lifting adds softness to your painting. Now this is like really soft and fluffy, but with the second layer, a lot of it kind of will go away too, because whenever we add second layer, for example, we lose a lot of these lifted lines, the areas. Have your colors pre-diluted with water. This is my palette, same colors I've had before. Everything is the same. So same colors I'm using for this second layer as well. And this is my, again, long quill size 2. I'm going to wet the bird. So if you don't see the sketch lines now, because maybe you don't because of the all the layering we did, you can resketch, or you can just slightly improvise, like whatever it's gonna be that line. I'm gonna go up to here. There you go. So this is just, it's a different approach, different technique, because of course we can paint something like this wet on dry, but all I teach mostly is wet on wet. So you feel comfortable with this technique, because why wet on dry versus, I'm sorry, why wet on wet versus wet on dry? Because with wet on wet, you achieve softness, that soft layer. And it's very useful, like when you paint fur, animal fur, you paint feathers. So now this is the cobalt blue, quin red, some of the phthalo blue too, I guess, and then, you know, all the mixes I have from the first layer, and I'm just gonna add it here, plus Van Dyke brown. I don't want to forget about Van Dyke brown. Let's just say blue violet, which is my cobalt blue, quin red, and then indigo, that's my dark blue, and then plus Van Dyke brown, all those colors plus Van Dyke brown. Now what I'm grabbing, right, is between the heavy cream and cream top-like ratio between water and paint. It's up to you, like what shade you want this to be. And the thing is that every time I grab this these colors combination, the color combination, it's always different, because I always have, like right now, I'm gonna grab a little bit of the quin red here, and I'm gonna go for the blue violet here, but I want more of the Van Dyke brown, and actually I need to squeeze more paint. But it's not the same ratio between colors that I've grabbed earlier. And I'm going to lift with this brush. So you wipe your brush on a towel very well. So we can still lift. It just depends, I guess, what areas, because if you've already lifted, no, I'm sorry, if you've lifted already in those areas, then it's easier to lift. If the area was just covered in colors and then you're adding second layer, then it's very hard to lift actually. But this is much easier for me, because the bird was, if you remember, the first layer here with this version was very light, wet, everything but those highlights and the darkest parts. So that lid. So I'm not gonna wet much. I just want to help myself to start with a little bit of water. What I'm gonna do, what helps, is to actually work with a color. So water-like ratio of Van Dyke brown and some indigo. We're gonna right away mark where we have that highlight so we don't lose it. So now with the color, we can go a little higher here. And you have plenty of water now at this stage, so it's easy to figure out where that line is. So this is that frame. There you go. This way I'm preserving that area for the lid. That's more like it. That makes it easier. There you go. Just like that. So now we can see more, right? But also, like, these areas are kind of connected. So we can kind of connect it with the outside part too. Now, because we already added this color, we can grab some of the quin red. The first layer I meant, it's already there. Van Dyke brown, heavy cream-like ratio between water and paint. And this is the Van Dyke brown and cobalt blue, quin red, and I guess cobalt blue, quin red, and Van Dyke brown. That's it. And going back to those areas. Now I don't want to lose my highlight. I kind of went too far a little bit there, so I just have to be more careful. And I'm back towards the bottom. This is Cream top like ratio between water and paint. Now because I use so much water, this is still wet, and I do want the paint to spread. But I'm not adding it everywhere. I don't want it everywhere. So now we can talk about it, like, do we need to do anything else? I honestly like how soft it looks. I could create a little more contrast around the beak area. So for instance, I would use this round 2 brush, grab some milk-like ratio between water and paint, and this is the area that's supposed to be a little darker. So I just added some color, and now with the damp brush, I'm just going to soften this and pull it a little bit. I think that's what it could be like, maybe a little more color, just so it all corresponds more to, and it works together, like flows together. And then I'm thinking it wouldn't be a bad idea to add, let's say, maybe a little bit of that paint here. It's kind of like, I don't want to lose my lifted lines, but I do want some contrast in the middle. I'm looking at my test piece, and it's just kind of like I'm glancing there because I like how I added that first layer wet on dry. I'm sorry, wet on wet. And I just went for the colors heavier. And so I kind of like that version better because of that. And then here, and I'm gonna use the damp brush. So technically, like, this would be another layer, but we're just adding color in just a couple areas. And we could do the same thing above, like these feathers, for example. So this is just like final touches, things that you really don't have to do, especially if you love your painting already, then do nothing. Just leave it the way it is. I'm just finding a couple areas where I can add some darks, but honestly, this painting is finished. So this is my test piece, and I'm working on it at the same time. And you know, I love the way the first layer turned out. Now I will show you one thing you can still do. I'm just looking for my Rigger 2 brush. So this is my 1209 series. It comes in a set. Actually, I'll show this to you. These are my Rigger brushes. When you purchase a set like this, I mean when you purchase the Rigger brushes, so you get the set like this. And I have 2 different series. This is 831 and this is 1209, the wooden one. This is the one I use for like fine hairs, and this is the one, the black one, to lift the colors. It's a little thicker and slightly stiffer. So I designed these brushes with Da Vinci. So this is according to my measurements and the fibers I chose, in the length too, because they're much longer than regular Rigger brushes or liner brushes. So I'm very proud of these because I love these brushes. And next step, I want to show you what I'm going to do is grab some water with that brush. This is like a Quin Red, some yellow ochre there, and maybe midazolam yellow. So now, wet on dry, if we want to, we can add some more hair. Again, this is so optional. Like, you might be happy with what you have already, but let's say like this part could be puffier a little bit, or maybe add a couple details here, like the hair detail over there, maybe over here, and you can make it darker too. So I just grabbed a little more of, like, let's say rust sienna. So you can do that too. So now you can see that. So that's it for the class, and please let me know if you have any questions. So thank you so much.